Hey everyone, welcome to Habs Tonight. My name is Aaron Amadeus, joined with the Dutch Gretzky himself, Mr. Dale Weise.
What's going on? How are you, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good. I saw that you had a little dental work today, and you were kind of game time decision.
Yeah, you know what? I was a little concerned because half the day I couldn't even move my mouth. Could barely talk, but it's getting better now. I wouldn't miss this one with Prongs. Obviously, I'm pretty excited, so I wouldn't have missed this for anything, buddy.
As you should be, and as am I. And we've been warned by him in an email to get our A game ready, and I think we have. At least I got my B game ready, so it's all good. So big thank you to everybody involved in the show tonight. I want to give a shout out to Jenny Lee, who is getting us some jerseys, Hab jerseys. We're going to send them to you. You're going to sign them, and we're going to be giving them away on the show, on social media, all that jazz. So that's going to be really, really, really cool. Some really nice red Habs jerseys. That beautiful. Blue. Okay. So I won't say
great accent. Great accent there.
I am from Montreal. If you want to get in touch on the show, all you have to do is email us live@habstonight.com, live@habstonight.com. And today, guess what? If you want to be the first person ever on Habs Tonight, because we are now officially a partner with YouTube. Thank you so much to everybody for contributing to the program, watching the show, getting involved. It's official now. We can monetize, so we're really excited about this. And if you'd love to be a sponsor of the program, just email us at live or show at habstonight.com. Get in touch with us. We would love to work with anybody out there. And you can be the first person who gets involved as a super chatter. And all you have to do is, even if you donate $2, that's great. And we're not taking that money. We're giving that money to local charities. So remember that. If there's usually our guests are on, and we'll ask the guest, in this case, when Pronger comes on, we'll ask him what local charity he wants, but who will take the history of being our first super chat participant on Habs Tonight. It should be fun. Once again, live at habstonight.com if you want to get on the show and interact with Dale Weise, the Dutch Gretzky, and Chris Pronger. And no one wants to talk to Aaron Amadeus, but that's okay. So I've been kind of practicing this intro because if I mess it up, I have a feeling I'm never going to hear the end of it. So first of all, Pronger's got more gold medals than I have children. So that's, I think, pretty good. I think, but you have more kids than he has gold medals. So I think that's okay.
Yeah, he's got a long list of accomplishments.
Oh, my goodness. Not only has he won the Stanley Cup, he's won 2 gold medals for Team Canada, junior gold medal as well. He has also won the Norris Trophy as our good friend PK Subban, and he has won the Hart Trophy, most valuable player in the NHL, inducted into the Hall of Fame. I mean, the list go on and on and on. He is one of the greats. And when you think about the Philadelphia Flyers, like you and I were talking about today, if you were to describe a professional wrestler as a hockey player, he is absolutely hockey's version of Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he's the guy that I can see literally kicking someone in the gut with a skate and giving them a stunner on the ice. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, please welcome to the show the living legend, Chris Pronger.
Thank you. How's everything going?
Welcome. See, we had this big intro and then the picture.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. There you go. How are you, buddy?
I'm great. How about you guys?
Oh, real good, buddy.
So
real excited
to
have you.
A good start.
There you go.
Okay.
We're gonna get in trouble if we're not, which is good. So so are you the Stone Cold Steve Austin of hockey?
I don't know. Somebody said that I tried to kick somebody before. I didn't. I was trying to push with my skate to get my leg free. So, for all those that are paying attention to rules and suspensions and things like that,
We'll see.
Yeah.
I think we sir and I are big wrestling fans, so we allegedly, just like that. I was reading about that bar fight but it wasn't really a bar fight, from what I understand, in Buffalo, right?
No.
Yeah.
Don't you? Doesn't there have to be a punch thrown for it to be a fight?
Tell that to the
Maybe
person
not
who hit
today's
me.
NHL.
Not today. No.
Hot take right there.
Another hot take.
I like that. Oh, we're going to get into this one. I love this. Oh, Kevin writes in right away. Chris Pronger, my childhood hero, the reason I love the St. Louis Blues. I like Kevin. That, eh? Keep them coming. I love that. Hey, Pronger loves it. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Obviously, there's a ton of news in hockey. We want to talk about you. We want to talk about your, the company that you have right now with Well-Inspired Travels. A few other things that we want to go through, but there's a long laundry list of stuff that I think Weise, especially that you guys both played in Philly together, and you have this kind of, I would say, changing of the guard, so to speak. So Weise, you came in 2017, is that correct?
2016 was my first year.
Oh, in Philly.
2016, 2017, yep.
And Chris, your last year was 2011 in Philly.
11-12, yeah.
11-12. So there was, in between there, we had someone who was wearing the C, who was giving up the C at that point, and then we had a completely different shift of leadership when it came to the Flyers. Very different. And even today, I was reading an article that they wanted to send down Kata Hot, to get him out of the room. I don't know what's going on in Philadelphia, but they say that there's could be some leadership issues, and maybe this leadership has not been figured out or fixed since someone on the show over here has not gone that seed.
That seems to be a common theme. When it's not going well, they try to cast blame on something else. At the end of the day, playing well cures all. And when they were playing well early in the year, at the beginning, everything was rosy, and they were thinking Stanley Cup. I think they were even thinking about planning the parade route. But as we all know, it's a long season, and the team that gets off to the best start doesn't always win. So I think they'll be fine. At the end of the day, the goalie's got to make saves. He's struggled. And any goalie who's been in their net has struggled. So, I think they can tighten it up a little bit. They can play better defensively. They can, there's some things that they can do from a system standpoint to improve. But at the end of the day, the goalie's got to make saves, and whether that's, sending him to the minors. I don't know if that's the answer at this point. He's been up long enough, and he's seen and been a part of enough in the league to understand, what corrections he needs to make, and from a defensive standpoint, they need to realize whether it's where he's leaving rebounds, if he's out of his comfort zone and he's not playing confident, when he's not, where is he leaving those pucks?
That's a good point.
So it's under adjusting where you stand, where you block out, and really, that's a conversation with you and the goalie that, I don't, I'm obviously not there. I don't know what's going on in the locker room, what's going on in practice, what's going on, all those different things. But, I think that's a couple small things that they can do to make adjustments that have helped me in the past, whether it's we've struggled defensively, whether the goalie's just not got his A game or got his stuff. And goalies go through ups and downs just like we do as players. They're not going to play 82 or in some cases 60 or 50 or whatever your number one plays. But they certainly can adjust and make refinements to different things. And you can do so with the way you play to help them, whether it's clearing rebounds, as I said, boxing guys out in a different manner. Maybe they want to see the cross ice pass with a different look and not have to look through 4 or 5 guys. Everybody seems to now just collapse to the front of the net. And, a lot of times if the puck gets through, the goalie's got no chance, because if he's looking over here, the puck's going over there. And if he's looking over here, the puck's going over there. So it just sometimes a lot of it has to do with luck. Some of it has to do with system, and some of it has to do with just playing better.
Yeah. And Dale, I'll throw it to you because you started you signed to Philadelphia, it's 2016 at that point. You go in, there's obviously, I don't want to say a void in leadership, but different type of leadership. You have Giroux now at this point, versus, obviously Pronger at this point. What is that like when you're going in there and the history of the Flyers and you're like, okay, the last guy here kind of had a little bit of swag and a little bit of rules behind him, right? And how was that with you when you played?
Yeah, for me, that's why I picked Philly. Ron Hextall was one of the first guys that reached out to me in the free agent bargaining period there. And man, I thought it was a great fit for me. I look at their team. I see a guy like Claude Giroux. That's something I'd want to get behind. And, I thought about the city and the type of player and what I bring. I thought it'd be a good fit. So going in there, I didn't know much about Giroux. Obviously, from watching him on TV, I was obviously a huge fan, and playing against him. Obviously, he was one of the top players in the game. At that time, he's still good. So it was interesting for me. It was different where I've come from. I had a lot of older leaders, and G would have been 27 at the time when I got there, so kind of in the prime of his career. So it was kind of a different take for me after having Sedin in Vancouver, and Taze was younger in Chicago, but obviously really, really established at that time. So it was different for me for sure.
Were there any?
I think one thing when you're talking about the captain and leadership, I don't know if there's too many teams or cities like Philly where when things aren't going well, it's the captain's fault.
100%.
It's crazy, but also the flip side of it is when things are going well, it's the captain's doing. It's crazy to think, but in that city, that's kind of how it works. It's crazy to think, but that's really how they look at it. They look at the leadership. They look at more so the captain, and just think that they can will guys to play better, or they can will the goalie to make a save. It just I don't know where they get these expectations from, but sometimes there was a lot of times when G just took over the captaincy when I was gone, and he'd text me or call me and be like, "Hey, what'd you do in this situation?" I'm like, at the end of the day, G, it's about how you guys play. You can't know what everybody's doing. You got to focus on your game. If you don't play your game, like if G is not Claude Giroux and playing the way he plays, it doesn't matter what he does in the locker room. It doesn't matter what he does off the ice. They're not going to win. So you have to understand the basic tenets of being a leader and being a captain, especially at a city like Philly. You still have to take care of how you play the game.
Yeah.
Would you say that Philly is probably the most extreme in that situation that you faced?
Yeah, I would say they're hard on the captain and they're hard on the goalie. And it's like time immemorial. That's just the way they've been in Philly with the Flyers probably since '67, since they came into the league. It's crazy to think the number of goalies that they've had, and how they're good, then they're bad, they're good, they're bad, like Carter Hart was going to be a Vezina Trophy winner, and now they're like, "Wow, we should trade him." A lot of times there's just not enough patience because five bad games and now you're no good.
Right.
And it's too long of a horizon.
Right. I felt the same way. I thought Montreal was pretty extreme, but they're a little more lenient. And then, before I signed in Philly, I thought this fan base is incredible looking in from the outside. But when I got there, I saw a completely different side of Philadelphia. And you really understand when you play there, obviously, as the good times and the bad times. I went through a lot more bad when I was there. Our team wasn't very good, but so I seen the worst of the worst. Booing goalies 5 minutes into a game, booing the power play. It was pretty extreme for me.
Yeah, they you know what, and that's the good and the bad. They are very passionate. They love their Flyers. They love brash hockey. They love in your face aggressive hockey, and when you're winning, there's nobody better and nobody better on your side. And even when things aren't going well and they are booing, they're booing because they love it and they want you to win. They're not booing because they hate you. They're just so passionate about the game and so passionate about the team and the city and everything that it kind of epitomizes, that they get frustrated. Just they don't realize that the players are just as frustrated as they are when we're losing.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems very similar to Montreal, I can tell you that. What was it like? What was it like going in? Obviously you played for a lot of teams. What was it like going into the Bell Center, and even you played at the Forum? What was that like?
The Forum was was very unique, unlike any other building. Obviously I was fortunate enough. I got to play in all the old buildings, the Buffalo Odd, the Boston Garden, the Montreal Forum.
Sick.
Chicago Stadium. Like my first year in the league was when all those buildings were on there last year, or there soon after, and so I got to see how small Boston Garden was. How bouncy the Forum boards were, the Maple Leaf Gardens, how hard the boards were. I mean,
Wow.
I mean, it was crazy how firm. It was like putting them in a concrete, and the boards would just stay like that. They have to change the glass now and to make it the flexible kind and things like that. So there's no building like those old buildings because of the way they were constructed. Obviously, no suites and things of that nature, but so everybody's right on top of you. But the Bell Center, I mean, having played there in the conference finals in 2010, how loud it was, how much energy, the excitement you could feel coming into the building for the game. Those are the types of things that get your juices going and get fired up for a feature match like that. It's a lot of fun.
So you talk about 2010. So let's talk about one of the most historic things, the coming back from being down 3 against the Boston Bruins, who, Dale Weise is the Bruins killer in this show because he got in their heads in 2014. He's awesome. So what was that like? Because there's only a couple of teams that's ever done that. How do you lose 3 games against Boston and then you go, at what point do you sit there and say, we actually can win 4 in a row in the playoffs?
It's funny. You look back on the 3 games we lost, all by 1 goal. 1 was in overtime. 1 was on a late goal. We didn't feel like we were outmatched. We didn't feel like we were being outplayed. It was just luck of the bounces and kind of sticking to it. I think everybody to a man in our locker room was, when we lost that 3rd game at home, we were not, oh my God, we're done. We can't do this. It was really just like, let's chip away. We won game 4. Mike Richards had a big hit on David Krejci that kind of blew out his wrist. He was done for the series. That kind of changed the way their lines were structured and gave us a little bit more of an advantage. And then, we won that game in overtime, and then we went into Boston, won, then we came home and won. And then we were down 3-0 in Boston in game 7 in the first period. And, you know what, we just, Lavi called a timeout and we just said, there's 5 minutes left, I think. And he just said, let's try to get 1 before we go in. We were able to, James Van Riemsdyk scored a squeaker and, just found its way in. And after that, we got in the locker room. We're like, we didn't play great. We didn't play bad, but we were down 3-1. There was 40 minutes left. It wasn't that, we didn't feel like it was insurmountable. We just needed to get back on our game. We could see the ice was starting to tilt. And then we tied it up in the 3rd period. We scored a power play goal, Simon Gagne, with about 7 minutes left, and then sealed it up. And I know it was a crushing defeat for them, but I think it was a great learning lesson for them. And they went on to win the next year. So, I think you look at teams that go through what feels like an unbelievably crushing loss like that, but they were such a young team. When you look at the stars, they still have a lot of the same stars on their team now. And that was almost 10 years ago. That was 10 years, 11 years ago. So when you think about it, a lot of the same players were there then that are now. So, they had a really good young core back then. So it was exciting to be a part of, to be able to, the only other close one I was involved in was we beat Phoenix when I was here in St. Louis. We were down 3-1 in the series. But other than that, most of the time, the other team finds a way to close you out pretty quick. They get up on you early in game 4 or game 5, and then they just put the hammer down and kind of finish off.
Yeah. Or you need a game 1 Weise overtime winner in Tampa Bay. One of my favorite goals ever.
What? It's funny that you speak of that. Like, look at the way Tampa kind of went through they got swept by us. 2015, they made it to the Stanley Cup final. Like, they went through a lot of trouble before they won the Stanley Cup last year, but they kept the same group and they just kind of kept learning every single year. I think it's interesting the way you said that.
Yeah, they've done a good job of building around. They've identified their core and their nucleus and then added the pieces around them to continue to improve, tweak the way they played a little bit. Last year you could argue just the way that they played and the style. They were an aggressive physical team that had a lot of talent.
Right.
Yeah. And a goalie that was superstar level.
Yeah, he was lights out in the playoffs. He was incredible.
Yeah,
lights out. Okay, a couple of questions here before I get to an interesting one here. Have you? So we had someone ask this on Twitter before. Have you ever in your career been offered a contract or a trade to Montreal?
No. Nope.
That's a very interesting one.
Well, I shouldn't say that. Not to my knowledge. I knew about most of them.
Yeah.
But not to my knowledge. No.
Would you have? Is there one that you knew that could have been really close? Could you have ever been like a Maple Leaf or something? And
Oh no, when I got traded to Anaheim, they had a deal done with the Leafs.
Oh really?
They had it was Thomas Caberlet and 2 first-round picks, and the Oilers wanted Alexander Steen, and they said no, we want to give you Matt Staging, and they said no, we want him, or we're not doing the deal, and then they did the deal with the Ducks.
That close to being a Leaf. Wow.
That close.
That could have wow. That would have changed a lot, eh?
Yeah.
That would have changed quite a bit. So the topic of the show today is media. Dale and I have been very vocal about, obviously the Montreal markets and other markets not being a fan of certain media and how, they kind of make it a little bit uncomfortable for players today and I'd say of all time to do their job, and especially today with social media, with everything out there. You're probably one of the most famous guys for giving it back at media members, right?
The most famous. I wouldn't say one of them. He's a fave for sure. Number
what's
one.
the famous line? I'm out day to day with hurt feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, so let's talk about that. I mean, first of all, your experiences with media, what led you to that experience where it was just kind of like, okay, seriously, like what is up with this? And then where it is kind of today, in terms of what you see.
I think, I was fortunate. Obviously the league was a lot smaller and it's a good and a bad. I think as you get more media, it's a bigger product, a bigger game, a bigger entity. But coming in when I did in 93, I mean, was the internet even going? I don't know. It was just starting. Computers were like the size of my room here. But I think I learned early on, my first 6 or 7 years pro, I was really intense on and off the ice, focused on the game. But I was upfront with the media, but I was also very aggressive and brash and sarcastic, you could say, to a certain extent. When it was a dumb question, that's a dumb question. Smarten up. But I think as my career went along, and I created relationships with the referees, created relationships with the media. As you gain more experience, you learn, listen, they got a job to do. I've got a job to do. Part of my job is to grow the game, build the game, promote the game. And my outlet is the media. My outlet is TV, paper, internet, whatever it is. And our job is to help promote the game and leave the game stronger for the next generation. And so I learned to kind of tone it down, how, I guess, intense I was, but I wasn't going to make it easy on him. Like, you got to ask good questions. You got to ask me the question. I'm not just going to start talking and give you an answer. So as I started talking to people and the media and really getting to know them, I'll give you the famous thing that I told the Philadelphia media when I first got there. I flew in for the, media session, and I did a big press conference, all the TVs and everything. And then I did one-on-ones. And at every single one-on-one, I said, listen, I got one rule, and one rule only. I don't care what you write about me. I don't care what you say about me. All I care is that you quote me properly. Don't make up a quote. Don't say I said something when I didn't. You just quote me properly, and I'll give you all day long, and I'm going to give it back to you. But if you do rip me, you better make sure you're at the rink the next day. And you better be asking questions and not hovering in the back so you can run away and hide. Like, what am I going to do? Like, you get the last laugh anyways. You get to write about me again the next day. Like, oh, what an ass. He tried to beat me up, or he tried to yell at me, or he did this or that. Like, just a bunch of words, so, and they all appreciated it. They all respected it. And I never had a problem. When I was in Anaheim, I had a great relationship and rapport with our media there. And I was screwing around with one of them in Minnesota one time, and he came in to talk to me. I'm like, God damn it, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of my face, Jesus Christ! Screwing around with him, right? Because he knew I was set up to do an interview with him, and a Minnesota reporter was coming in, and I do my interview and I leave, And this reporter goes, "Oh my God, you got to work with that guy every day?" And he goes, "Hey, by the way, he was just kidding." Like if you can't have a little fun, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Weise always tells the story about being asked some of this, I don't want to say stupidest questions, but like a question that how do you respond to it? I mean, Weise, you can talk about some of these questions you've been asked before.
I mean, I was watching one, it was a YouTube clip of you and Sam Carchidi this morning, one of my favorite guys in Philly. I used to give it to him all the time. Like when I was scratched, I would sit up top and I'd watch him, and he's writing stories. He didn't watch a minute of the game. So I come and I call him out after. I said, "Sam, how can you write something when I watched you the whole game? I sat right beside you in the press box. You didn't watch 1 minute of the game." "Well, I'm writing my story as I'm going." I was like, so I started giving it to him. I was like, "You don't even watch the game. I'm going to watch you next time. I want you to get off your Twitter, close your computer, and watch the game so you can actually write an honest story." And he was all pissed and fumbled about it. And then he turns his recorder on. He's like, "Do you want to make a quote?" And I was like, "No, I just told you. I just said, like, watch the game so you can give an honest report." Me and him went at it so many times, and it's just, I don't like when they would try to lead you down. I would go in a completely different direction where they would try to like, "Yeah, this guy's struggling in this," and I would be talking about
accept the premise of the question.
Say it again, sorry?
Never accept the premise of the question. Never repeat the question. Just answer the question how you want to answer it. And I would sit there all day long and I'd give my answer. And they'd ask the same question a different way. I'd give my answer again. Another person would ask the same question. I would give my same answer. I'm like, I can do this all day, guys. I can do it all day.
I love it.
I go, you might want to change it up.
I like what you said about building the brand and growing the game, because I think so many people miss that in hockey. It's just really, guys give such generic answers and they don't want to show their personality. The same as me. Like, there are so many tremendous personalities in hockey that if people could really see guys out of their shell, it'd be hilarious. But, for whatever reason, guys aren't comfortable talking and being sarcastic and just showing their personalities. So it's really unfortunate, because I think hockey really misses the idea of growing the game. I think that's something that every other professional sport does well, except for hockey.
I would agree. They, you look at basketball, I think social media is they've taken a hold of it. Basketball and football have taken a hold of social media very well. Baseball is a little bit ahead of us, but I would say they're not overly active on social media, I wouldn't think. It's hard. I mean, a lot of, you got to have your life out. And, when I was playing, I was very private, very guarded. I never had any accounts of nothing. So I just did my thing and came to the rink and wanted to play hockey and do my, do my interviews afterwards and have a little fun. But
well, we want to be. Hold on 1 second. We want to be respectful of your time. We have two people that are online over here that'd love to ask you a couple of questions.
All right,
let's get them in. They're as all of our comments are coming in right now. Habs Tonight is an A-list guests are on Habs Tonight. You people are saying that you've the worst media is in Edmonton.
Oh, no way. No way.
I'm just saying what the comments are saying. We'll get to that afterwards. Why don't we go to Bear right now very quickly, and then we got Kyle after Bear. Bear, you're on with Chris Pronger and Dale Weise.
Hey, how's it going?
Bear? Love
Representing.
Oh,
I know. Don't ask. It's a long story with why I love Anaheim. But part of the reason is the gentleman that's sitting here, long-time listener and not a first-time caller, Chris. Thank you for doing this. So we're the same age. I grew up playing hockey. I've watched you from, pretty much the same level. And I just remember when you were playing, and this is going back in the early 90s, and I think you jumped in the league in 93. Yeah. And coaches would say, like, I went to university, played NCAA Division I, and coaches are like, yeah, you got to play mean and tough. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying. Like, play like Chris. I'm like, Chris is mean as shit. He was like, I remember, like, it's a different time, and I'm trying to teach my son now and all of that. But yeah, like, it's, some would characterize your play as dirty now if you look back with that lens, and I'm like, no, man, he was just mean, like mean in a good
creating
part.
Space. We call that creating some space.
Absolutely. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, there's actually two questions. One, It has to do with plus minuses and
Yep.
the plus minus argument. I'm all for it. You were a plus minus monster to the upside. What do you think about it? What do you think about just the term and the concept of plus minus, that your presence on the ice at full strength betters your team without actually getting a point?
I would agree that, I think when you look at all the different analytics that are out there, there are many naysayers to this. But at the end of the day, if you're with the same line or similar lines all the time, that's an advantage to a certain extent. But you still have to defend, and you have to. I was to the plus, but I was always playing against the top line on every team.
No, exactly. No,
So a lot of these analytics, they say they're countering that into the numbers. They're not. There's no way they are, because the numbers that I see come up, they're not accurate. And that's where a lot of times it's the eye test. It's who are you playing against? Okay, you're playing against the top line every single night, yet you're plus or even every single night. If you are doing that, I'm not worried about stats. I'm worried about winning.
absolutely.
And if my job is to defend the top line on every team every single night, and I'm a plus or even player on most nights, depending upon how many penalties we take, and how our other lines play. But if I'm shutting down the top line, then most of the time you have a really good chance of winning the game.
No, I think it's
So
great.
I do look at it, but you got to look at it in a certain grain of who are they matched up against all the time, who are they playing against. If I see some guy that's on a good team that's a massive plus minus, and he's a third pairing defenseman, well, he's probably got an unreal third line that he plays with that is scoring a lot of goals.
Right.
He doesn't have to defend. So you have to look at the checks and balances as opposed to just the straight numbers to get a real good sense, in my opinion. Now, the analytics people will probably say I'm wrong, but that's just how I feel.
Nope, and I definitely appreciate it. Dale, Aaron, always a pleasure. Chris,
Great seeing you, buddy.
Stay,
Thank you.
Stay healthy, and
Thanks,
and
Bear.
thanks for all of this.
Appreciate it.
Bear.
Thank you.
Let's go to someone who's wearing looks like a very interesting jersey. Let's go to Kyle. Kyle, welcome to Habs Tonight. You're on with Dale Weise and Chris Pronger.
Oh, look at that!
That's a beauty.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that a Gretzky?
Rock. Yeah, it is a Gretz. Yeah, it's a Gretz.
Nice.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, and honor to talk to you, Mr. Pronger.
Thank you.
I thought Bear was going to snipe me there on my question about you being a mean SOB to play against. I was getting a little worried. Thought I was going to have to fly ants. My question. So I grew up watching you sort of come in with the Blues and watching some of your techniques. I now have a young son who's getting into hockey. Hopefully, he follows in my footsteps and wants to be a defenseman, not a goalie or something horrible like that. And I was wondering what was your go-to corner move or in front of the net move that kind of walked that line of being a bit greasy and sending a message that I can maybe pass on. And follow up, I know your guys' careers maybe overlapped a little bit in Philly and in Montreal, but I'm wondering, Dale, have you ever been on one of the other ends of it?
Great question, Kyle.
Great. I'll just jump in quickly. No, we miss each other. Thank God, Kyle. go ahead, Prongs.
I was going out. He was coming in. I would say there's two things. If you're standing in front of the net with somebody, it's just a subtle smack on the top of their laces with the heel of your stick. Leaves a nice burning sensation. There's a nice whack in behind the knee, again with the heel of the stick as you're coming by to get in front of them. It tends to leave a little bit of a mark. And then really just boxing the guy out. Like Dale will tell you, you box a guy out consistently over and over and over again, he's going to get mad. He's going to get frustrated. His coach is going to be yelling at him to get to the front of the net. Why can't you get there? There's rebounds. You got to fight through. You got to play tough. He ain't getting there.
I used to it was always like it's changed a lot now. There's so many more smaller defenders that they're just trying to tie up your stick, and I used to love that. But when you played against a little bit of an old school guy, he would tie up your stick and just start shoving you, and you'd have nothing to do. He'd be boxing you out from 15 feet. You wouldn't have a chance at a rebound, no matter what you did. If the guy boxed you out correctly, it's hilarious.
No, that's great. Thank you.
It would
All right,
hurt.
thanks,
Kyle,
Kyle.
you have a wonderful
Thanks,
evening,
Kyle.
and thanks for checking up. That's pretty cool. I like that. Those are some good questions. I would imagine a kind of a Pronger snap on the back would be a little bit harder today than most players today can handle.
Again, everybody said that in 04 too, when the 04-05, when the new rules were going to come in. I was going to be a dinosaur, and I would argue that I was better in the new rules than I was the old rules.
Yeah, and I would say
True.
you're probably the one clip that I associate Chris Pronger with right now. I mean, there's many, but the one that I always think of is you against Tampa Bay when what was it, the 3-1-1 that they had, and you just sitting there with the puck.
No, the 0-1-3-1.
You just sitting there with the puck, and the guys were skating around, and it's like, come on. I was just, I loved it. I was sitting there, I'm like, this guy.
I was begging Marty St. Louis. He's standing like in between the blue line and the red line. I'm like, come on. You can ask your coach, but come on. Come on.
The best. For anybody who hasn't seen that clip, you have to see that clip. We'll post it up on Twitter afterwards. Now, just quickly going back to the 2010 playoffs, when you guys were going up and you were going in against Montreal after you took out Boston, at that point you're going in Montreal. You've seen Halak. He's on this amazing tear. Was there anybody in the room saying, "Okay, we got a really hot goalie over here with the Habs" at that point, or you just believed in yourself?
No, we'd played very well against Montreal all year. No, we were confident. We felt like we were the better team. We felt like we were playing well. We had just on a high coming back from 3-0. We were not going to lose that series.
I love the honesty. Dale, I'll leave it to you. So some other questions that you have. I'm thinking like, okay, a lot of people are on the chatter are asking, the closest defenseman right now to Chris Pronger would be a Shea Weber, hardest shot. I mean, you've played with all these guys, right? So what are your thoughts on all this stuff?
Yeah, I don't know if you can compare anyone in today's game to you. That would be tough. I don't think there's any guy like you. I think, when you look in the 90s and 2000s, I think every single kid that was growing up that was a tall defenseman, it was like, hey, you need to try to be like Chris Pronger. This is what you need to do. And anybody that was a prospect in junior that was 6'5" and had some kind of edge to him, it was like, hey, we need to try to make you Chris Pronger. And you just couldn't duplicate it. You just couldn't do it. And that's what you would hear everywhere. You watch the NHL draft or something. Yeah, this guy's the next Chris Pronger. This guy's going to be a Chris Pronger. And we're still waiting. You just haven't seen one since you. And I don't know when we're going to get another one, but I would love to know about the Olympic teams, because when I look at the rosters that you had on the Olympic teams, man, this is like, it's just a Hall of Fame team. I had every poster out in my room. The teams are incredible. Which one for you obviously was the best, and which one was the most memorable, I'd say, for you?
Well, 98 was pretty cool. On defense, Ray Bork, Scott Stevens, Al, Adam Foote, Rob Blake, and then you keep looking. You got Gretzky, Yzerman, Sakic, Fleury. Korea was hurt that year. Like the list of players. Lindros was on that team. Rod Brindamore. You just look at the list.
Look at a picture of that.
Look at that.
Show. I promise.
Wow.
I looked at him. I'm like, I think I got it. No. I think 02, the two winning teams, 02 and 2010, were a little bit different. 02 was a little bit older team, built more around North America, built more around playing that aggressive physical game. The third line or third or fourth line was, I think it might have been our fourth line. Lindros, Owen Nolan, and who was it? Somebody else. So I mean, like, it was just, I mean, that's your fourth line. So, you know, it was, and then we had Patrick Waugh, Marty, and Ed Belfour in net. And then in 2010, like, it just, you know, it was more of a changing of the guard in 2010 where we had a much younger team.
Right.
You know, you look at the guys, you know, you got a young Getsy, Perry, Sid, Duncan Keith, Drew Doughty, Shea Weber, you know, so it was a little bit of a changing of the guard. And then obviously those guys went into 2014 in Sochi. So Patrice Bergeron in 2010 was our 13th forward.
Wow.
And this poor guy, I mean, I felt so bad for him. He's sitting on the bench the whole game. And then they're like, okay, we got a PK and we got to draw on our own end. Okay, go win it. The guy's been sitting there for 20 minutes.
Jesus.
And they're like, okay, go take a draw. And you're just like, come on. You gotta have some semblance of flow of the game and be a little warm. You're throwing him cold, and then you're wondering why he doesn't win the faceoff. So, you know, like, come on.
Where do you keep the golds?
I have them hanging in my basement, and I have like a little shadow box with them all.
Okay. I
can't imagine it's very small. You got a couple Olympics, the Stanley Cups. You got a lot of things in there. I can't imagine it's very small.
Yeah,
I keep those separate.
They're in the other room.
Yeah,
he's got multiple championship rooms.
Yeah,
I love
those are on the other side of the wall.
Oh, I love it. So before we let you go, I want you to tell us about the business, because I know you've been really investing in this, and right now the travel industry is taking a little bit of a hit, obviously, with COVID. But tell us about it. Well Inspired Travels, right?
Yeah, Well Inspired Travels. No, we're a boutique luxury travel company centered around health and wellness, the healing powers of travel, and the mind, body, spirit. You know, our goal is to help people understand what travel can do for you. When I got hurt in Philly, I traveled a fair amount to heal my body, heal my mind, heal my soul, and really understand and get back to where I was before I was injured. You know, and I think too many people go on vacation and they need a vacation from their vacation. Yeah. And they don't do enough sustaining of their soul, making sure that they're taking care of themselves. Yeah, you can go blow the doors off at night, but you need to take care of yourself and understand what your body needs, you know, from a higher purpose. You know, our clients are athletes, entertainers, C-level executives, business owners, high net worth family offices, and really the reason for that niche, if you will, is that's what we know. That's who we know, from the sense we understand the demands in their time. We understand the pressures of their jobs, the fame, the fortune, the stress on home life, the pressure on kids, all of that. When you look at that cross section of clientele, they're all very similar. And then when you look at, from a professional standpoint, the will and desire to get to the top, the drive and determination to not only stay there, but then continue to excel. We're very relationship driven. You know, we're not about just randomly sending people on trips and experiences. You know, we want to really curate and customize each experience around who they are, what they're about, where they've been, what they've done, what they like, what they don't like, and where they are in their personal life, their professional life, and really kind of understand who they are and then steer them in the direction that we feel is going to be best for them to learn more about themselves, more about another culture, more about adventure, whatever the case may be. And in doing so, we want our clients to come home and be able to implement something that they learned in their everyday life, whether it's as simple as a CEO learning a new sleep technique and being fresher and sharper and able to be a better leader, an athlete going away for a weekend getaway and learning a new holistic healing method and being able to incorporate that into his routine and be sharper and fresher and prolong his career. There's all kinds of different things that we try to be on the forefront of and allow our clients to kind of learn about them and participate in them as they continue in their travels.
That's awesome. And we'll post the website up on Twitter, as well as the show right now on the repeat. And what's the website, by the way, if you know it offhand?
wellinspiredtravels.com.
wellinspiredtravels.com. There you go. You can use that as a voiceover. Now, last question. I promise, last question. Dale and I are now, we are making this that we are going to ask every guest that comes on this. Okay. And if the answer is yes, you have to tell us the story. Do you believe in ghosts?
I did when I was a kid.
Okay.
I was scared of them. I knew they were lurking in my closet. There was a few nights when I was walking home that I would walk down the middle of the road, down the yellow line, for no other reason than I was scared of ghosts.
But they are.
So no, I mean, when I was a little kid, but not now. Do you?
I do. And we're gonna be introducing a new series coming out soon. It's gonna be a paranormal series where Dale and I are gonna take some of the toughest people in the NHL, and I think you would be probably the one that we're gonna go to a couple of haunted houses that people do not want to stay in, and put a camera and see how you do when you see or hear something. Are you up for the challenge?
I do agree with the haunted houses, though. I do think there are some houses that I don't know if they're jinxed or what, but there's something going on.
Okay, so you're up for the challenge. We'll have Pronger in the basement, and we'll have Weise upstairs in one of the bedrooms, and then it'll be 3 a.m, lights out. Oh, this is where everybody backs out. Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's good. Well, listen, I love to leave it on a fun note like that, but Chris Pronger, it is an absolute pleasure from a guy like myself who's watched you. I'm older than Dale, obviously. I've watched you for a long time. You are an absolute legend. And, from myself and from all the Hab fans, I can thank you. And it's unbelievable to have you on to share this little screen that we have here. And I know Dale probably is going to say the same as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You covered it. Prongs, again, thanks for coming on. I know we're kind of a small show. We're just getting started. And I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time. I'm sure you're a busy man. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Best of luck with the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Crank it up.
Woo! Appreciate that, ladies and gentlemen. That's Chris Pronger on Habs Tonight. Look at that picture, Hall of Famer. What a class act, and what a great person to talk to on the show. And he was great because at the beginning, I remember I asked him. I said, "Is it okay if we go a little bit longer?" And he said, "Yeah, don't worry about it." So
he, what an intelligent guy too. Holy
he
smokes.
is. This is the thing. This is the mistake. A lot of guys in media too. You and I are going to talk a little bit more about media. Guys in media think that hockey players are me hockey player hot stick. No. Some of these guys are so intelligent. It is. I mean, first of all, look at yourself. You are. And I'm not just saying this because you and I are partners. You are better than I'd say 70% of all the media outlet and the media that I see on TV, interviewing people and doing shows. You are better at them at what they do. That is the honest truth. So, I don't know where that conception comes from, but let's continue on this topic because I really want to talk about media. Want to get into this. I know we got to we'll stretch it an extra 5 or 10 minutes tonight. Promise only. If you want to get on the show, live at habstonight.com, Still waiting. If anybody wants to super chat, ask a question. Now remember, if you ask a super chat question, if you donate $2 or $5, I think Dale will tell you the truth. That's the promise.
Always. That's the Chris Pronger promise. You get the honesty, I give you.
You'll spill the beans on whatever actually did happen.
Always.
And by the way, next week on the show, you want to tell everybody who's joining us?
Yes, I would love to. So this is a guy that I really wanted to get on. Obviously, he had a big impact on my career. He's a guy that I had my first NHL fight with. He was in my first NHL game, and he's a guy that has a very big presence on social media. He's really out there. He speaks his mind, and I couldn't be more excited to have him on the show. And if you want to release the name, I don't know if you want to keep that going or we want to keep people on their toes.
You're keeping me in suspense.
Yes, we are going to have Dan Carcillo on the show. I'm really excited to get him on. He's a guy, like I said, that me and Aaron have talked about, and he just has a ton to say. He's very vocal, and I think he's one of the guys that will speak about post career things that he's gone through, and obviously he's had some concussion issues, and he was best friends with Montreal, and a tragic story there. I don't know if he's going to dive into that too deep, but I would just love to hear what he has to say, and I think he's going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah. NHL, watch out and do not watch next week because you're not
Yes.
going to kind of like what Carcillo has to say, and hearing some of the stories that he has talked about. You know what? I think you probably should not watch, because if you did what you had to do, the NHL, none of this stuff would have happened. But,
Yep, exactly.
I digress, and we're going to hear more about that. And that is, anybody who's ever has wondered about concussions or any of those things when it comes into professional sports, especially in the NHL, next week is going to blow your minds. I guarantee it, on this program at Habs Tonight. Once again, if you want to get on the show and interact, live at habstonight.com. So let's continue on with media. So you're in you're in these markets. You're in New York, you're in Vancouver, you're in Montreal, and then you're in Philly. Which out of them has the, let's just say, the best media, and then kind of the most trashiest media?
Ooh, good question.
Or smug media, whichever one you'd like.
Smug, it's such a good word. For me, I started in New York. I didn't spend a lot of time there. Obviously, being in the system, I didn't read a lot of the media. When I was playing in the minors, I wasn't trying to read press clippings about who's getting called up and this and that. So I didn't see a lot of New York. I think New York is the guys that cover the team are great. I think the team does a really good job of who they allow in. They're very, very strict with that. Brooksy, obviously, everybody's seen the John Tortorella Brooksy things. So I think he's great. I think he's hilarious. I think they need more media guys like him. He writes a lot of sarcastic things, but I truly believe he actually knows what he's talking about, which is rare compared to some of the other guys in other cities. Vancouver, we had a really good team. We were really, really good when I was there. So the media couldn't really get on anybody. They didn't have really a chance. Our team was so good. It was a year after we went to the Stanley Cup. Sorry, not we, but I came the next year. They went to the Stanley Cup year before.
And just for the record, Vancouver would have won if you were there. I'm just letting you know.
They probably would have. If I was on that team against Boston in the final, I would have found a way to sneak one in or something.
Oh, yeah.
They would have found a way. Game 7.
Yeah.
I'm 1-0 against them in Game 7.
Yeah,
so.
or when they put the mitt in the mouth. I forget which Brad Marchand, when he puts the mitt, the glove. You would have actually.
I think it was. Was it Lapierre and Burroughs?
Yes,
that
it was Burroughs. It was one of the Sun. No, I think it was Burroughs.
I think Burroughs, and then Lappy kind of made fun of him after, which was hilarious.
Yes. That's
what it was.
That's
what
it
it was.
Yeah,
Which I thought was great by Burroughs. That was unbelievable.
So smart. Whoa.
Yeah, I know. So the media in Vancouver, there was a lot of like blogs and stuff surrounding the team that I wasn't the biggest fan of. There was a ton that got a lot of play, and that for me was kind of how the Dutch Gretzky thing started. But we've talked about that before. Moving on to Montreal. I found Montreal media swayed the team more than any other city I've ever seen.
How so?
The way they would, not one guy specific, just in general, they would sway the team to make decisions. Oh, we'll play this guy, or this guy needs to play here, or we need this. And then
they would all follow. You're saying all the media would follow a narrative, and then the GM or the coach would make a decision. Exactly.
Wow. And I really feel, out of all the teams I played on, the Montreal media really swayed I wouldn't say that management's decisions, but they swayed a lot of things. So, and then I went to Philly. Like I said,
going back to Montreal for 1 second. Sorry, give me an example that you can remember that all you could hear, they're talking about this, and then the next thing you know, the coach has made a decision.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk about 100 times line combinations. This guy needs to move up the lineup. Okay, and then this guy moves up the lineup, or we need to get this guy, and then all of a sudden you hear rumors Berger's trying to sign this guy, and it's like, I understand the media is knowledgeable and they have a lot of great things to say, but for them to go out and do exactly like, there was just a million things. Like, I mean, I can't think of an exact one, but I can just think of like in general, the way they could sway a team. And, for me, it's just crazy. And then fast forward to Philly, Chicago, it was such a short time. Their team was so legendary. The media was great there. I got nothing to say about them. I thought they were great. And again, in Chicago, they did a really good job of, the credentials, and so they didn't have that many media, so they did a good job of keeping it in tight. And then Philly, for me, are like I said earlier to Prongs, our team wasn't very good when I was there. We had a lot of issues, so the media there to me was the most negative that I played with by far.
John writes in, what do you think about the Erik Karlsson interview? Are you referring to where he's eating the apple?
I retweeted that the other day because it was incredible. I absolutely love it. I absolutely
we
love
gotta
it.
get him on the show to talk about.
I
want to
absolutely
go
love
clap.
that.
Good job, dude.
For a guy to say, he what did he have a goal or he had 2 goals and then he's shootout winner. I don't know what the actual stat line was, but for that guy to say, was this the best offensive? Like clearly he knows nothing about Erik Karlsson and clearly didn't follow his career. I'm sure he's had multiple 4 and 5 point games. I think he had a hat trick in the playoffs one time too. Like he's had outstanding
as
offensive
a hockey fan
performances.
And a Habs fan, when Karlsson has the puck, I cringe because I'm just like, no, get it. That's how good he is. And just because he's in San Jose, he may not be having a great year. He is still one of the best defensemen. I mean, how many Norris? This guy is so good. And for that reporter to say that, and I could just think of Carlito in the WWE. I spit on the face of people who ask me stupid questions. You just it was
you
golden.
could just tell maybe there was some history between him and the guy that asked the question before. You don't really know, but either way, it was just a great answer.
Viper asked a question. The players and coaches always say they don't read the media. I don't believe that. They have to hear what's going on. I mean, some of them must turn on the TV. You're gonna see what's going on. I mean,
yeah, I think a lot of guys, I would say half and half. Half the guys follow it, and then they tell the other half that don't really follow it. So it always ends up coming up. Anybody that says they don't hear about it or they don't read about it is living under a rock. That just doesn't happen. Nowadays, everybody has social media. Everybody's, checking their comments and stuff like that. So I know that's something we've talked about. That's why I would be concerned with a lot of young guys that are checking their comments and doing things like that, because that can really lead you down a dark place.
Yeah. I know we got a couple of people on the who've just emailed who want to come on the show. We'll get to you in a couple seconds. We got a couple of people there. Got to check that spam folder. I love it. We have, I don't know what it is. I think it's actually the more times people email you at live@habstonight.com, it will not show up as spam. So I'm just letting everybody know that's the problem. It's a server problem.
It's not our fault.
A Nick would say. So you're saying, now here's the other question. Can you distinguish between, or let me ask this in a better way. Is there a way that you can distinguish the types of questions you're getting from media that are print versus television and radio? Like do those 3 different spectrums come at you differently as a player?
Hard to say. I think, for me, each team has their 2 or 3 main guys that are there every single day and work for the team. So you're more than happy to, give them the real info. They're nice to you. You're working together every day. And then you get guys that are there every day. Let's mention a guy like, a guy like Eric Engels in Montreal. Like, he doesn't work for the team, but he's there every day. He's on the road and stuff like that. So those are guys that I think you have more issues with as a player. And then thirdly, you get people that are kind of, whether they work for NHL.com or something, and they're just there randomly, and you have those people. So I think I have issues with 2 out of those 3 groups.
No. So, I mean, you mentioned Engels, and, as a person, he's a good guy. His job is to be an insider, right? So he's probably trying to find out all the, I don't know. I mean, it's got to be one of those things where you get the information and what do you do with the information, right? So maybe that's, I don't know. And I posted down something on Twitter the other day where I think it was Elliot Friedman, who I know. It's actually a friend of someone in my family, a friend of a friend. And I was upset with he does a good job with his writing. He's a very good writer, and he does his 31 Thoughts. And I have no issue with him personally. I didn't like that. It's, let me be honest with you, and I'm sorry to make this kind of a little bit longer, but until you and I became friends and started doing the show, I looked at things a little bit different. I was like, I want to know who the guys are getting traded. I was so interested in that. And then now I'm looking at it, we're like, okay, you're mentioning a player's name. Like he mentioned a guy from Montreal that Bergevin is looking to shop. And I read the news and I was just like, I wasn't excited. I was just like, man, why are you mentioning his name? Like his family and friends are going to be reading this. Like, that's all I can think about now, because like, I know you got 4 beautiful kids. I know you've got a beautiful wife. Like you've got a family. Like that stuff has got to kick in, man. Like your mom is our number 1 fan.
100%. Barb's
Barb
on
to
here
get
tonight.
upset?
You know she is. And that's
Yeah. And every
that's the-
time I mention her name, she stops commenting. I know that.
She's great. That's the point. One of the main reasons that I wanted to start this with you is I want people to see the personal side of the hockey players, because I think so many people have a really hard time distinguishing and separating the hockey player that's there an hour a day from the human being. And that's really hard for fans to see, because I understand you're a fan of the team and you love watching them play and you're hard. You want them to do this and this and that, but there's 23 hours outside of hockey a day from the hour that they're playing. So I just want people to see that.
Yeah.
Ooh, what do we got here?
Hey, we got a super chat. Look at that. Wait, it's James.
I don't know what FTW says. What does that mean?
For the win? For the wife? FT.
For the-
is it
For the win, maybe? Is that Barb
the
leaving?
win? Oh, yeah, Barb for the win. But James,
Barb.
you put the money in. I don't understand. Is James Black really your mom? I don't know what's going on. I clearly have no idea. For the win. Okay, so obviously James has put in a super chat for your mom, or your mom has called him up and said, put $5 in. That's
Either
it.
way, it's awesome.
Okay, so Barb, we know that you know Dale personally. Clearly. Congratulations. But the next person who does a super chat for us, we would really appreciate that. And it would show us that at least it's not a member of our immediate family or someone who works with our show. So there's a little super chat button on the bottom, little money sign. You can just donate $5 or whatever. It could be 5,000. It doesn't matter. Any of that money will go towards a local charity. Yeah. So just point that in. So the first one that we have is James Black. We'd love to keep pushing those in. Awesome. There you go.
Stewart, yes.
Stewart, that's a good one for the Weise. Okay, let's go back to action here. We got a couple people on the line live at habstonight.com if you want to get in touch. We're talking media with Johnny Hockey down there. I just saw that comment. Love the show. Okay, let's go to Anthony. Anthony, welcome. You are chatting with Mr. Dale Weise. Hey, we got another super chat from John.
Yes.
Oh,
Anthony,
hi, what's up?
how are you, man?
Hi, good.
Great, dude.
I thought this thing was like a one-time thing. I thought I wasn't allowed to come back, but I guess I can.
No
Don't worry.
Did y'all see the game last night?
Oh,
Of course. Huge
what a
game,
beauty!
buddy.
What a beauty, man! Shut up for Pricey. You gotta love that, eh?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's lost today. Sorry, Anthony. Fire away, buddy.
McDavid got a $5,000 fine today.
I did see that. What'd you think about that?
I mean, I wouldn't give a fine. I would give him like 2-game suspension for that.
Do you know what the difference between a $5,000 fine and a 2-game suspension for Connor McDavid would be?
What?
Oh, probably about $500,000.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So if Connor McDavid, 5,000 would probably be about one shift in a game for him, what he makes. So, you start suspending games, you lose big amounts of pay because your pay is prorated for how many games you play. So that would be big money if you suspend him for a couple games. Do you think it was worth it? Do you think he should have got 1 or 2 games?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. It was. You know what? It was a hard hit. He went right into KK. I mean, put it this way, answer the question. If it wasn't McDavid doing it, would that player, if it was a random player, would that player be suspended? Yes or no?
For sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I mean, McDavid is like the favorite. I mean, it's obvious.
I mean, everybody knows it, and he sells tickets. He's the face of the NHL. He's a leading scorer in the league. He has to make a pretty bad play to get suspended. And just on the flip side, I'm not opposed to it either. There's they have Zach Cassian on their team who's pretty tough. Nurse can fight on the back end, but if guys are going to take run at him, he's got to start creating a little space for himself. If he does stuff like that, guys aren't going to screw around with him as much. They're going to know that he's going to give it back to you. I don't know if there's a good trade-off for him in the league, but I kind of like him firing back a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think Ekholm's going to come in Montreal?
Yeah, I've seen that rumor a lot. I have no idea. I think there'd be a lot of suitors for him. He's being in Winnipeg here, I've heard that the Jets are looking at him too, but I think he's a good option everywhere. He's such a good defenseman. He's got some playoff experience. He's big. He's a good left shot. I think he'd be a really good option for them.
I'll give you my take in a few minutes on the Ekholm situation with Nashville. I've got an inside source, nothing to do with Dale, but someone else who works in somewhere else, and I'll tell you my 2 cents. Exactly, an insider of an insider. Anthony, thank you so much. You have yourself a wonderful, wonderful week, my friend.
Thanks, buddy.
Take
care, Anthony.
Be good.
Bye.
Bye. So if you want to get back in the show, once again, live at habstonight.com. It's in the description, live at habstonight.com. We'll get you in there. A couple of super chat questions over here. First of all, there's one came in from John, and his super chat. Let me just put this up here first because he sent this in first. John put over here, super chat donation because my mom's name is Barb as well.
Oh, wow. Thanks, John. Appreciate that, buddy.
That's awesome. So,
That's
the name Barb is obviously very popular. But is her last name Weise? That's the thing. I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, so here's a question. Now we have to answer this because all super chat questions get answered. This is obviously for Dale. We'll read the question. A few weeks back, Carey said he didn't care what fans think. Do you ever like that, and why? Now, I don't know I don't know the context of how he was saying it. Like, was he talking about like his pads? I don't care what the fans think. Like, there's a lot. You need to know the context of the question. I think that's the hard part to answer. But I mean, Carey's a pretty relaxed guy. So for him to be like, well, it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks. This is the way I am. Or, I mean, that's kind of his groove, right? I mean,
for sure. I think at this point, I think he's got nothing left to prove to the fans. The guy has been so good for so long, and he's laid it out there. And I think what he's saying is, after everything I've done in my career, everything I've done in Montreal, if you think I'm not good anymore, I don't care. I don't care because I'm giving everything I have. I'm doing everything I can. So I don't know what else to tell you. I think that's kind of the way he was coming from. And for him to open up and say something like that is obviously rare. He's never came out and said that. He's not the most talkative guy in the media, but I know personally, obviously from playing with him, he's extremely passionate, and I think you get to the point where it beats you down a little bit after all this time. You've given so much of yourself, and you've played so well, and he's done everything for the Montreal Canadiens that they're really trying to point the finger at him after all these years where he's been the backbone. I think that's where he's coming from.
Being a goalie in Montreal is not an easy thing. I'm just trying to think. That's probably like being like a shortstop in New York City for the Yankees or something. Like it's you can be the greatest in the world, and there's someone will always try to say that you're not, or someone will say you suck, and it's just not true, man. The price is just you wouldn't have almost gone to the Cup Finals in 2014 if not for Carey Price, right?
Absolutely, we
wouldn't have gotten past Pittsburgh in the play-in if not for Carey Price.
Nope, not a chance.
Let's go to Adrian, who is waiting on the bottom, shaking his head in agreement. Thank you so much, Adrian. Welcome. You are with Dale Weise, the Dutch.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. This is really cool. First of all, yeah, thank you. How are you guys doing tonight?
Great, Adrian. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate
shooting the breeze with Chris Pronger before. I mean, I got Pronger and Weise. The perfect place to be in the middle.
Better.
Yeah, that was a good interview. I was watching that earlier. I have a few questions for you, Dale. So which player did you hate playing the most against? Like whenever you just hopped on the ice and you saw him in the warm-up, you're just like, oh shit, this is gonna be you just hate playing against that player. Who was somebody that you just more so hard to play against in that sense? Hopefully
that's a good question. You know what, man? I loved playing against Boston for some reason. They always brought the best out of me. But you look at their team, some of the defensemen they had, man, like Chara, really hard to play against. Kevin Miller is a really, really strong defenseman that kind of Chris Pronger style would not be afraid to cross-check you in the back at all times, cross-checking the ribs, slashing the laces, slashing the back of the knee. Dennis Seidenberg was could be the strongest guy in the NHL. I think was pretty underrated. He was just so strong, man. No matter when you went into battle with this guy, he'd absolutely dominate you. I don't care who you were.
Really?
Yeah. Adam McQuaid was their D-core was just absolutely miserable to play against. So I loved it and it was great, but that whole decor, man, for that probably about 5 or 6 years where they had the same guys, it was miserable to go on their zone or in front of their net.
Wow, that's crazy. Wow, yeah.
Adrian, I got to interrupt you for 1 second to get a little bit of breaking
sure.
news. It's not a trade. Not a trade.
Okay.
Just came in right now. The NHL has postponed tonight's game against the Canucks and the Flames due to COVID-19 protocols. I'm going to see the tweet right now, what it says. Maybe James Black will be able to pull it up afterwards.
Maybe Thatcher Demko took the boys out this afternoon on his new deal.
Let's
They broke the quarantine. They all went out on his new deal.
Let's just read this. The National Hockey League announced today that as a result of the Vancouver players, including one player who was added to the COVID-19 protocol list, was released at 5 p.m. today, as well as a member of the coaching staff entering the NHL COVID protocols. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. So do we see now, wait, was Calgary or Vancouver involved whatsoever to anything to do with Montreal? The schedule?
I mean, I haven't played recently. That would have been over a week.
No. Okay. So I'm just trying to put 2 and 2 together. It didn't make sense. Okay. But that's you know what? We just saw this with Montreal. Is this possibly a trend that's going to happen now with Vancouver and I don't know. I hope that, first of all, and any of the players or if a coaching staff member is on this COVID protocol, we hope that everybody's healthy, happy, and that's first and foremost. And then it's just precautionary. So that's number one. And hopefully there's nothing more to it. And I will let everybody get back to the other question at hand. I'm sorry about that.
Fire away there.
Oh, that's okay. No, that's okay. How was it like playing with John Tortorella, or being under on the him coaching you? Sorry. How was that?
Yeah, it was interesting, man. So I had him in New York. Obviously, I was coming up from the minors, so I mean, he doesn't have a lot to do with, you get called up, you're just happy to be there. You don't really you don't care who's coaching, you don't care if he's screaming at you and whatnot. So we started off really good. We battled a couple times the previous years just in training camps, just by me pretty much telling him I should be on your team, and then me pointing out I'm better than this guy. Give me a chance and I'll show you. And he liked it and he didn't like it, and so getting called up in New York and I was probably up for the last 2.5 months of my third pro season. I liked him. I liked how fiery he was. He was a really good motivator. And then I went to Vancouver the following year. I played a whole year. I got established. Then the lockout year, I played half a year. I'm a full-time NHLer. And then John comes in my third year. And it just was a bad fit for the team. He didn't really fit for the team. Me personally, it was kind of, when I was trying to get my foot in the door, getting called up at the Rangers, I had 4 fights in 10 games. I was just trying to get my foot in the door, but now I've established myself as a player, and I think he kind of saw me as the same way and never really saw me more than that. And we butted heads on that. So again, later in my career, I probably would have loved playing for him. I respect him. I love watching his comments. I think it's great the way he handles the media. But as a younger guy, it was tough.
Yeah, for sure. Were you there when he went to the Flames dressing room?
Yeah, I was.
You're still there?
I was on the ice for that brawl. I was on the ice.
Oh, no way! Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was that?
We knew it was coming when he came in and gave the starting lineup. It was we knew it was happening, and then and then we fought and then came off, and then he ended up apologizing later. I don't know why he apologized, but it was pretty wild, man. I've never seen anything like that.
I remember still, I was in high school at the time when that happened. I was 17, and
nice.
I remember seeing that game on the Saturday night. I was finishing watching the Habs, and I put on the game after that, and I saw the whole Donnybrook there, and I was like, wow, that's
old school, man.
Old time hockey, gotta love it.
Oh
yeah.
I remember that. I remember trying to keep him out of the Flames locker room. That's passion. I love that. You love that stuff.
You can't go wrong with that.
Adrian, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. We really appreciate it. And Come on our next program. Remember, next week is
I'm
Dan
down.
Carcillo. It's going to be a
That's gonna be a good
really
one.
unveiling show. It's going to be great.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's an
thanks,
honor to
Adrian.
meet you both. All right,
Appreciate
take
it,
care.
buddy. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so
Thanks,
much.
buddy. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, buddy. I wanted to one of our super chat guests, Joe, posted a question there, and then Adrian jumped on. I just wanted to touch on that one quickly. Yes, I was asking if Dale had a moment like that. Definitely in Philly, I had plenty of times where I really had to, I stopped caring what the media thought. Not that I ever cared what they thought, but I really started caring what the fans thought. I was just, I'd be leaving the rink and people would be chirping me for, like, home fans and everything. So for me, it was a tough time in my career, and I really got to the point where I really didn't care what anybody thought at that point. So that was difficult for me.
And you've been, obviously you're in Montreal. It's every season, no matter what, they could be in first place and they can have a really bad game and the fans will just start booing. And some players will sit there on the bench and be like, oh, we really don't pay attention to it. But like, come on, how can you not? Like, that's got to affect you sitting on the bench, hearing everybody in the Bell Center booing.
100%. It affects you. It doesn't happen. I saw it happen a lot more in Philly than Montreal, but it's not like the guys aren't trying. It's not like everyone's professionals. They're trying to do their jobs. So it's difficult to hear that. It really brings the morale of the team down.
What was that the game that happened with, I believe it was when they were honoring Snyder when he'd passed away, and the fans were throwing stuff on the ice in Philadelphia. I'm not sure if you were there for that.
That was a year before I got there. I remember watching the playoff.
Yeah.
That was a playoff game against Washington.
Yeah,
and they were throwing the bracelets and everything on the ice.
Yeah, to me that was just like, wow, those fans are just.
They're ruthless.
That's the owner of the team. You're celebrating his life.
Ed Schneider did so much for that community. Like,
yes.
Oh man, he donated so much money back to that community. He has so many programs going there. The man is absolutely incredible. I didn't know a lot about him going there, but then being there, you see what he's done and all the stuff that he put in place. Absolutely incredible, man.
That's crazy. So is there? Let's talk a little bit Montreal. Obviously, before we end the show, we'll give another 5 minutes and then we're going to cut it out. Okay. So media. Let's talk media in Montreal. Have you had any? Let's talk about any run-ins in Montreal. And you don't have to name names. I'm not going to ask you to name names, but give me a circumstance or a story that this is just typical Montreal media, and it just to this day drives you nuts.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. For me, I always, kind of like Prong said, I had a really good relationship with a lot of media in Montreal. When you see how much they sway, obviously it's good to have the media in your favor if that's the way things are going to go. So, you want to be nice to the guys. You obviously want them to write nice things about you. And believe it or not, a lot of teams don't, they have pro scouts, but they really don't watch a lot of the games. And I'm willing to bet they probably don't trust a lot of their pro scouts. And I think that's why you see a lot of them changing and everything. So I really, truly believe when a media gets behind a player and they start building him up in one market, and all of a sudden, he goes and he signs this huge deal somewhere else. Like, I feel like the media played a hand in it, and I think that happens. So I'm trying to think one that really, really pissed me off. I had a lot in Philly. I'm trying to think personally in Montreal. I didn't have any that really blew me up, but I just didn't like the way, like you said, Montreal always had so many rumors around the team and trading this guy. And obviously, the whole PK era, there was always stuff about him in the dressing room. And that stuff really pissed me off because I knew the truth and I couldn't really go out there and voice my opinion on what was happening. But the media always writing that he was an issue in the dressing room and stuff like that. That probably, I saw that 100 times. That pissed me off.
Because you're sitting there in the truth, and you know that if you go out there and say something, then I don't know, it's like against company lines at that point, right? So
right, and then even if you do go out, you're almost like, justifying what they said. So, well, he's coming out, and he's defending it. There must be something to it, So you just can't win. So there's no way to handle those ones.
We got another super chat here. This is Super Chat Wednesday. I love it. I got enough.
Awesome.
This is great from Justin. Who is the most superstitious goalie you've ever played with? Who I thought that was going to say who tweaks or who twerks.
Yeah, he did. Oh, twerks. Yeah. Who tweaks their gear the most? Lou, Hank, Price, or Hart? Definitely Carter Hart. he has a ton of superstitions.
Really?
With everything. He was one of those goalies that, like, no, you don't talk to, you just kind of let him do his thing because he had so many. And I know, when you're watching games, you can see it. He does the water in the air and he watches every drop and skates to the same corner every stoppage, and he goes one way, and then if they score, he switches. He has a lot. He has a ton. So Carter Hart for sure.
What was Price's?
This is an interesting take on it, actually. Not that has anything to do with why he's struggling, but I know me and Pricey talked about it a lot, obviously being compared to him and stuff. And I know Pricey's insight on it was you got to kind of lose some of that because it's so mentally draining on you. And if you want to have a long career, you can't be doing that stuff every single game. It's just too much and it wears on you too long. And I wonder if that's something maybe he's going through now. And, I could be grasping at straws, but I thought that was an interesting take that Pricey told me.
Interesting. It makes sense, right? Like we've all been in those situations where like you're mentally drained, right? And you're thinking about something too much and you're just tired. And that happens in everyday life, right?
Absolutely.
So
everybody can contest that.
And I just want to point something out here. You know what? Dale and I, we don't talk prior to the show about like notes on the show. We just have a conversation, right? So like anytime I'm asking a question to him or the guest, we are literally just asking questions. And that's the whole part of it where it's not scripted. And that's what makes the show fun because we're not scripting things at all. You and I both believe in ghosts. That's first and foremost. They are
absolutely
real, okay.
Yep.
And we are going to we're going to have a lot of fun with this, but like, on top of that, we don't script ourselves, right? And I will say this about the Montreal media. I worked in the Montreal media in 1999 and 2000. I had a show when I was a lot younger in CIQC AM radio in Montreal. It no longer exists, that station. But I was there and I had a Habs show. And I had a wrestling show as well. I will say this. When you and I started doing this program, before day one, I'm not going to mention the names of the personalities. Absolutely not. But we had members of the Montreal media call us up and provide advice and want certain things. And it was very exciting. But then after our first show, we kind of realized why they were doing it. They were doing it because we were able to have a platform to be able to say what we wanted to say. Dale was able to talk freely about certain things, but not worrying about the ramifications. As most people know, most media is owned by a company like Bell or Rogers. They're owned by these big corporations. You can't really say things, right? And I don't know, it's disheartening to know the fact that, the media that everybody looks up to and thinks about are the ones who are on their phone, tweeting you, calling you, messaging privately and asking, to be on the show at the same time while critiquing us and telling us what's wrong. And that's fine. We're not perfect. We're just here having fun. And we want to build something that like is for, we've always said the show is not by fans. This is we're a community of individuals, right? We've got someone over here who's played in the National Hockey League at an elite level. And then you have someone over here who's played NHL 95 when it came out. Okay. So there is a dichotomy when it comes to that, right? So we have a lot of fun, but it's disheartening when you get those calls. And like I said, we're not going to throw anybody under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
It's just don't always believe the narrative that is out there, especially with the media in Montreal. It is very disheartening.
I couldn't have said it better myself, buddy. You absolutely nailed it. Absolutely nailed it there. It's like you just mentioned, it was a really interesting thing where someone's critiquing you, but they're also talking about wanting to come on board. It's very interesting. I was taken back by it, to be honest with you, but when you're doing something right and you're building something, there's haters and there's naysayers everywhere for everybody at all stages of life. So you got to just kind of let those rain off your back and fall off.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we're sorry that we went over tonight. We promise we're going to stick to an hour. We've been saying it. We're actually getting better. But we had, Chris Pronger. I mean, you had to give that guy an extra little bit of time. He went on and he was talking some amazing stories and stuff like that. If you didn't see the interview, please watch the show again. It'll be up on YouTube right after the show ends. Obviously, you can watch it again. Chris Pronger, I mean, Stanley Cup champion, 3 gold medals, two gold medals as well for Team Canada. Norris Trophy winner, Hart Trophy winner. I mean, the ultimate player. I mean, to hear the stories of him playing in the original arenas, that is just so cool, man. To hear him, imagine that, being able to play in the Forum and then the Bell Center. Wow. That's just so cool, man. It's just so cool. That was my fanboy, and then he threatened us via email beforehand, so we were on our A game. He's awesome. That was a great guest. So
he was the first. Sorry, I gotta say, he was the first guy that I was actually kind of nervous to talk to a little bit there. I don't know because I was such a fan of him when I was younger or what, but what an awesome guest. He's a guy we'll have to have back for sure.
This is the only time I've been nervous to talk to someone on this show. I mean, it was Chris Pronger, because he's like one, and like, I love this way he started off. You like Stone Cold? Well, I kind of kicked someone in the stomach with my. I don't remember
allegedly.
that.
Allegedly.
He made being mean cool. Thank you very much, Jeff. That's a very nice comment. Another great show. Thank you so much. So we want to thank all of our contributors. I don't know if we have the list on the screen we can pop up. If we do, that's great. If we don't, then we'll have to name them off, and that'll take me an hour and a half. Do we have the list, Mr. James Black? It doesn't look like we have the list, but I will list off everybody who I can remember. Shane, Brandon Legacy. We also have Drew Deeks, and we have Anik. I can never say her last name. Anik and her dad Dan, who are consistently together as a team. Steffi, Alyssa. Who am I missing? James Black.
Producer James.
As he's looking for the list of the people that are contributors. I don't know. Producer James.
Our team's getting bigger.
Yeah.
We appreciate every one of them. That's they're the reason that we get a chance to put these shows on so easy. Me and you hop on and we talk, and we have a ton of people in the back that are making everything happen. So we really appreciate everybody in the back, as always.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, live at habstonight.com or show at habstonight.com. If you have a question or comment, check us out on Twitter at habstonight.com. Next week, Daniel Carcillo is going to blow the lid off of the NHL on Habs Tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait. Look at those pearls.
Oh,
such a
incredible.
beautiful. Look at that.
Incredible.
Beautiful. Look at that guy. I love it. And so next week's going to be a great show. And watch the repeat on this. And we're going to be giving away Habs jerseys signed by Mr. Dutch Gretzky himself, Dale Weise, as well. We have our merchandise that's available in the description box. You can click. There's some really beautiful shirts there. We've already sold a few of them. And we will do that Placanic episode. They are coming out. The full episode will be out this week, as well as a few more parts. We just need to make everybody a little bit more excited about Plecky. It was a great interview. You're going to love it.
Awesome.
Dale, great show again, as always. We're going to trim it down. I promise. And that's pretty much it. So for myself and everyone else, I say good night. And to you, my friend.
Yes, thank you to all the viewers. Obviously, you guys are the reason that we do the show, and you're the reason that we're going to keep doing them. So thank you guys very much. We appreciate the calls. We appreciate the super chat donations. Again, these are all going to causes that you guys are supporting. So make sure you get those in. As always, subscribe on our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow our videos, like them. And obviously, we'll take any feedback that you guys have for us. So you can follow us on any of those social platforms that Aaron just mentioned. And again, a quick thank you to Chris Pronger and obviously the team in the back that we have at Habs Tonight. You guys are the best, and you guys are the best fans. So thank you very much.
Brandon, this one's for you.